Hey y'all, it's your friendly neighborhood therapist, and I am here with an update regarding the Caleb Wilson case. If you do not remember, Caleb Wilson is the 20-year-old Southern University A&M student who was unalived during a fraternity ritual hazing incident at Southern University in an off-campus situation. So there has been an update. As of now, two more individuals have been arrested. So now three have been charged in the hazing death of Caleb Wilson. So in a previous video, I told you about Caleb McCray, who is 23. He has been charged with felony manslaughter and criminal hazing, leading to serious injury or death, according to court documents and records obtained by news outlets. McCray's bail was set at $100,000 and he has a bond review set for May 29th at 10 a.m. Also charged now are Isaiah Smith, 28, and Kyle Thurman, 25. Smith, Thurman, and McCray are all Southern University and A&M college students. A spokesperson for the university confirmed to news outlets Tuesday afternoon. Smith is a graduate student, and McCray and Thurman are undergraduate students, according to the university. Now, that is a correction in something I said in a previous video based off of what the news was first saying, which is that McCray had graduated in December of 2024. He cannot be an undergraduate student if he graduated. So he is an undergraduate student. Isaiah Smith, however, is a graduate student, meaning he either graduated from Southern or he is in one of their graduate programs currently. Now, Thurman was arrested in Port Allen Monday and has since been extradited to Baton Rouge, the Baton Rouge Police Department announced Tuesday afternoon. Smith turned himself in early Tuesday, today. It was not immediately clear who was representing Smith and Thurman in court Tuesday afternoon. Baton Rouge Chief of Police Thomas Morse Jr. detailed what happened to Wilson Friday during a live stream press conference and said McCray turned himself in on March 6th. He was booked at East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, according to Morse. Now, both Thurman and Smith have only been charged with criminal hazing, which is a felony in the state of Louisiana, according to authorities. Police have said that more arrests are expected, but to give more detail, McCray is accused of being the one who actually punched Caleb Wilson in the chest. So that is why he has the manslaughter charge. Now, according to some outlets, he punched this young man four times, and it was the fourth punch that was fatal. And according to some things I read on some medical sites, a hard enough blow to the chest near or at the heart can cause someone to pass out and die. So it will cause your heart to go into an irregular rhythm and you could pass out and die. He was hit, he fell to the ground, began to have a seizure, and eventually passed. So, this deadly incident unfolded when Wilson and eight other fraternity pledges went to a warehouse of a flooring company in Baton Rouge on February 26. At that warehouse, they changed into gray sweatsuits for the hazing ritual that allegedly involved McCray, Thurman, and Smith wearing boxing gloves and punching the pledges four times, according to their arrest warrants. Thurman proceeded to punch the first half of the group. McCray punched the second half, with Smith punching at least one pledge, Smith's arrest warrant said. Wilson, who was in the second group of pledges, collapsed to the floor, appearing to suffer a seizure. No one called or attempted to call 911 or tried to summon an ambulance, Baton Rouge Police Department Chief Morse said at a news conference. Wilson was later dropped off by a group of males at Baton Rouge General Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. The time between the incident at the warehouse and Wilson's arrival at the hospital is not immediately clear. Investigators later found that the vehicle that dropped Wilson off at the hospital was registered to Smith, according to his arrest warrant, which also noted that Wilson was changed out of his clothing before he arrived at the hospital. Wilson was wearing only black sweatpants and white socks. Smith was also confirmed to be the person in surveillance video seen removing Wilson from the car, according to the warrant. Investigators also learned that he was the fraternity's dean of pledges and was in charge of the pledges at the time of the incident. McCray and Thurman were also identified as current active members of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, according to their arrest warrants. Now, McCray has been released on bond following his arrest, according to CBS affiliate WAFB. Now, another important thing to note right now is that Isaiah Smith's father, Todd Smith, is who leases the Woodcrest Drive warehouse where the hazing took place and operates his business, California Hardwood Floors, from that building. It is also important to note that Isaiah's father is also a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Now, his father was not present So he is not implicated in anything other than his son having access to this warehouse, which is not strange, okay? People work for their parents. Your parents have a business, you have a key to that business. It is what it is. So a lot of people were up in arms and saying, oh, his father knew. He could have, and he also might not have. So, I mean, we not going to do that. And then I guess the owner of the building, because he just leases this space, but the owner of the building is a politician in Louisiana, and there was some heat on him too. But owners don't be knowing what leasees are doing. Like, let's not go down that route. And the owner is also not a member of the fraternity. So that said, also, Philip Robinson, who is Caleb McCrae's lawyer, did not immediately respond to news outlets' request for comment Tuesday afternoon, but he released a statement Friday, according to WAFB. According to Robinson, the charges against McCrae are serious, but encourage community members to remember that an accusation is not proof of guilt. He's a good lawyer. That is what your lawyer is supposed to say. However, this is going to be hard for them to get out of because it's quite clear what happened. But Robinson stated, I maintain my client's innocence and urge the public to withhold rushing to judgment until all the evidence is heard. Many young lives in our community have been altered by this tragedy, and the impact has been felt throughout Southern University. His team is reviewing evidence and is working to make sure the full story is told. Now, here's another piece of information. The men changed their story about what happened to Caleb Wilson. So, detectives have interviewed over a dozen people to find out what happened to Wilson, Chief Morse said. Medical staff at Baton Rouge General Hospital called police around 2:40 a.m. on February 26 and said a group of men dropped Wilson off at the emergency room. The men said Wilson collapsed while playing basketball at a park located on North Sherwood Forest Drive in Baton Rouge. That turned out not to be true, of course, and detectives later found out the incident happened at that warehouse about 3.5 miles away from the park on Woodcrest Drive. Now, it is also important to note that Wilson's initial autopsy came back inconclusive. Also, there may be more suspects who will be arrested in the coming days because, according to BRPD, they have developed several suspects who were involved in the incident. All right, so also I want to discuss with y'all Louisiana's hazing laws really quickly, just so you have some knowledge in that area. When asked how officials decided what the three students involved would be charged with, Moore said there are 5 degrees of homicide in Louisiana: first degree homicide, second degree homicide, manslaughter, negligent homicide, and vehicular homicide. In this case, manslaughter is the most appropriate charge in the state of Louisiana. He added that officials may not be able to prove that there was an intent to kill Wilson, but his death was caused while those involved committed another felony, criminal hazing. I want to take a pause to say I do not believe it was their intent to kill Caleb Wilson. I do not believe in any hazing incident that it is the person's intent to kill the individual. That's just not. That's just, you would never be able to prove that. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying you would never be able to prove that. And I genuinely don't believe that that's ever the intent. You want these people to make it into the organization, right? We know that hazing is wrong. We know that the D9, along with every other organization, has banned hazing, but we know that it still occurs. But I do not think it is ever the intent to unalive the person simply because ain't nobody trying to go to prison for manslaughter. Nobody is even trying to deal with the charges that come along with criminal hazing. So it's like they know it's wrong, they know the risk they are taking, but they don't want that risk to go to manslaughter. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. I don't think any of these young men intended to unalive anybody. Now back to the information. Morse added that investigators were able to collect evidence at the warehouse as well. Hazing is prohibited in Louisiana according to the Max Gruvier Act. That act went into effect in 2018 after the death of Max Gruvier, a Louisiana State University freshman who died after a hazing event on September 14th, 2017. Now, I also want to take a pause right here because it seems like people have it a little bit confused. It seems like people think that this is only happening with HBCUs or Black Greek letter organizations. No, I told y'all before, the history of hazing started overseas, started during Plato's time at the university. It is something that was picked up by other cultures. Let's be clear. And Max Gruvier was a white male. So this absolutely does happen very often in white fraternities and sororities as well, along with other professional organizations. Like I mentioned to y'all before, hazing occurs in the military, hazing occurs in the church, hazing occurs in the police force, the fire departments, all of it. So I just wanted to make it clear because I don't want people to get this conflated. There is a lot of nuance to be taken into consideration. And one thing I do not want anybody to do is say, well, this is happening in those black organizations. No. Now, I do fear, though, that this will probably be a hit against the whole D9. We are living in a time where they want to remove everything that has to do with being black or anything minority. So this incident does not look good. This doesn't. They could easily say, oh, y'all not even allowed to have these organizations anymore. Who knows if they will? But if they do, we should have been working to alter these mindsets. That's all I'll say. Got to take accountability for that. This should never have been still happening after the entire Panhellenic D9 Council banned hazing in 1990. But anyway, the law calls for fines or 6 months in jail for non fatal hazing, as well as suspensions and other punishment for those involved in hazing. There are also fines and potential prison sentences for failing to help those injured. So this means that if you are there, you didn't have to give the blow, you didn't have to do the thing. But if you don't help, you are also held accountable. So that could mean even the other pledges who were there, who were themselves being hit, because you saw one pledge go down. What did you do? There is a moral aspect to this too. You already doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, that is not allowed. That is more than just not allowed, it is illegal. But then your reactions when somebody is harmed and needs help speak volumes. Y'all didn't call 911. Who knows how long you waited to actually take him, because you changed his clothes. So that's already too much time. If you took the time to change his clothes, you already wasted too much time. We do not know if his life could have been saved had y'all acted immediately versus acting out of sheer fear because you know you was wrong. When asked at the press conference Friday, District Attorney Hiller C. Moore III of East Baton Rouge said prosecutors may take the Max Grivier Act into account. So here's what they are facing: more because this was a fatal hazing incident. They could have, if he hadn't passed, they could have just been facing a fine, maybe 6 months probation or some time in jail, small amount of time. Now they are facing fatal hazing charges and manslaughter for at least one of them. So Southern University A&M College has also responded to community concerns. Since Wilson's death, they have issued a series of updates for concerned community members. The university said on March 4th that it had banned membership intake for all student organizations as a result of what happened. So this now means that every organization at Southern University, all of the Black Greek letter organizations and any other organizations that do membership intake, are banned. The next day, the university said it had begun its student judiciary process and reiterated that on campus organizations undergo rigorous anti hazing training. President of the Southern University System, Dennis Shields, spoke and said he is saddened by the loss of Wilson's life. The Baton Rouge campus chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity has been ordered to cease all activities. Every campus Greek organization is being informed that no additional membership intake can occur for the remainder of the academic year, which means they will not have any spring lines and possibly any summer lines. There are some schools that do a summer line. While answering questions, Shields also said that expulsion may be on the table. We need to follow our due process rights, give the students notice that they're being accused of being outside of the code of conduct regulations. Mayor President Sid Edwards spoke at the conference on Friday as well, adding that he met with Wilson's family, and it's just one of the many meetings he has had with family members of young people who have died. We've got to do better, he said. I encourage all the young people out there to make better decisions. We hate having these family meetings. On Friday, Wilson's family will host a viewing from noon to 5 p.m. with a celebration of life service immediately after at the F.G. Clark Activity Center on campus, the university said Tuesday afternoon. So that is all the updates that I have for y'all regarding this case. At the end of the day, I will continue to reiterate this was unnecessary. This should not have happened. This never needed to happen. This has already been banned. And now all these organizations have to feel the consequence of one organization making the wrong decision. That is not to say that the other organizations don't do it too. They just don't get caught. Let's be clear. We're not going to pretend like the other orgs don't do hazing at times. I'm not saying every intake class goes through it, But I'm saying we not gonna pretend like Omega Sci-Fi is the only one that does it. But we will note that according to research, Omega Sci-Fi has gotten in trouble for it the most, meaning they have either gotten caught the most or things have gotten fatal the most. Whatever, however you take that, they have gotten in trouble for it the most. Period, point blank. That is no shade or no hate to the organization that's saying get y'all stuff together because enough is enough. Y'all, that's all I got. Have a beautiful, wonderful rest of the day, and I will holler at y'all later.